The Grand Canyon receives millions of visitors a year to bask in its grandeur. A small percentage of those guests also meet their demise, whether it be falling from the cliff sides, heat exhaustion, or even murder. Hi all, I'm Geology Joes, a real-life geologist that explores the world through a geologic lens. In the spirit of brooding fall and my favorite holiday, I will be starting a series called Geology That Kills. Each week, I will unveil a new way Earth is inadvertently trying to kill us. If you haven't seen my first episode of this series about toxic gases in California, check that out. If you have, stay tuned to find out the reason that Grand Canyon has been ranked the most deadly national park, and subscribe for more geology adventures. In total, Grand Canyon has claimed approximately 900 lives since the 1800s. What do you suspect is the leading cause of death in the Grand Canyon? Do you think it's falling into it? It is a large hole in the ground, and I've seen many folks tempt fate to capture the perfect Instagram selfie. This was certainly my first guess. But what if I told you that the leading cause of fatality is actually airplane and helicopter crashes? In total, air traffic accidents have caused 379 deaths at the Grand Canyon, or rather, above it. In 1956, 2 commercial airplanes collided in mid-air over the Grand Canyon. All 128 passengers on both planes died. At the time, the FAA did not exist, so the pilots were managing their own flight paths. Allegedly, both pilots received permission to fly over the Grand Canyon but failed to communicate with each other. It was this fatal event that actually led to the creation of the FAA. Decades later, in 1986, an airplane and a helicopter collided while on sightseeing tours, killing all 25 people aboard. To date, this is the deadliest helicopter accident in the United States. In addition to the most fatal crashes, there have been several other crashes over the years that have resulted in death. Even if you disregard the major airplane crash that killed 128 people, aerial accidents over the Grand Canyon is still the leading cause of death. What in the geology is going on here? Why are there so many crashes? Well, it's caused by multiple things. First is the frequency and number of tours over the Grand Canyon. Hundreds of thousands of people book helicopter and airplane tours every year. Due to the demand, on average there are 2 flights per minute at the Grand Canyon. That's a lot of activity in the air, adding to the risk. Another reason for crashes is due to the turbulence. Turbulent winds in the Grand Canyon can be caused by a number of factors, including canyon shape, the convergence effect, friction, and solar heating. The shape of the canyon, including sharp bends and the presence of tributaries, create eddies, which are whirlpools of air. Friction between the air and the ground, especially on rough terrain like found in a rugged desert environment, can also cause turbulence. The strength of the wind, the roughness of the terrain, and the stability of the air all affect the turbulence. Since canyon shape and terrain impact the wind, when canyon tributaries of varying properties converge, it can cause turbulence, especially if the opposing winds are strong. This is the convergence effect. Lastly, solar heating is an important factor in creating turbulence at the Grand Canyon. Temperatures at the Grand Canyon increase with depth, so the plateau is much cooler than at the bottom. This is because air becomes denser as you descend in elevation. Dense air traps more heat from the sun, which the canyon walls absorb. This, in combination with the rugged terrain, affects air circulation and can create many different microclimates and wind. During the 1990 wintertime visibility study, 3 frequent wind flow patterns were found in the Grand Canyon by a scanning Doppler lidar deployed at the south rim. Those 3 patterns were reverse flow, which is when flow in the canyon is opposite to the direction of the large-scale flow just above the rim. This flow occurs most often under northwesterly synoptic winds. The next is coupled southwesterly flow, which means that the flow in the canyon is the same direction as the flow above. This causes very turbulent conditions and generally occurs under southwesterly synoptic flow. And lastly, there is the thermally forced along the canyon flow, caused by the previously mentioned temperature gradient. Luckily, the National Park Service hasn't had an aerial accident in over 40 years. As for the other causes of death, as you can imagine, falling into the canyon is high on the list, whether it be on accident or purposefully. The Grand Canyon is an erosional feature, meaning that it was created through erosion and weathering, and will continue to deepen and widen through these forces. That being said, it's not a great idea to stand close to the edge, no matter how stable that ledge looks. Many of the cliffs are undercut, meaning that there is less resistant material underneath that is constantly being eaten away by wind and water. Eventually, there is very little supporting material underneath the overhang, making it more likely to collapse. The canyon is ever-changing and may take you with it if you aren't careful. Other causes of death can be found on this very morbid map, which anyone can access. This map is based on the book Over the Edge, Death in the Grand Canyon, and contains all of the Grand Canyon fatality data through 2017. It shows how many deaths happen in a given area, the type of death, and additional background information if available. If you are morbidly curious like I am, you could spend a good chunk of time exploring the stories of Grand Canyon visitors who never left the park. On average, approximately 12 deaths happen at the Grand Canyon every year. That doesn't seem like a lot, and it's not when compared to other national parks like Denali that have fewer deaths but have a higher death rate. The odds of dying from falling off the rim in the Grand Canyon are 1 in 1.8 million visitors. The deadliest time at the Grand Canyon was during the 1980s. However, in the 2000s, deaths from environmental factors like heat have increased. To prevent heat-related deaths in the Grand Canyon, the National Park Service has posted warning signs of this danger and encourages being well prepared when descending into the canyon. As someone who almost became a statistic at the Grand Canyon, I can attest to how important it is to know your limits and give this canyon the respect it deserves. If you don't, it just might kill you. Geology Joe's here. I have reached a mental impasse where I don't know if I should go further. My group has dissolved. A lot of them have dropped out and gone back up. I was here back in 2018 and was not in shape. It was the hardest hike I've ever done. But now, it's 6 years later, I'm way more in shape. I can do an hour on the Stairmaster, so yeah. I don't know how much of a workout I want to give myself on the way back up. And we got a late start, so it's like full sun. I found the one spot of shade and I'm hiding in it right now. I feel like I should push on a little bit farther. I kind of want to see the river. Wish me luck. Well, that's all for this episode of Geology That Kills. If you like this video and want to see more like it, leave a comment down below and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.